Welcome back, Wolfpack, to another electrifying episode of the Wolf Den Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Pence. I'm here with Justin Nielsen and John Latcham.
How's it going?
To start off, we'll do the same thing as usual, giving some updates. So we have some really cool updates this week. The first one, Darren Murphy, he got his master's license. Congratulations to you, man. That is awesome.
Congrats, Darren.
Nice
Big
job.
shout out to Colin Larson. He's been with us since the beginning, done his whole apprenticeship through Wolf River, and he just got his journeyman license. Congratulations to you. That is an awesome thing there.
Do you remember when Colin Larson showed up his very first day? We were doing targets, overnight targets. Before we had the luxury of doing like solar work, we did overnight targets, dude. That's what we did. You get locked in from like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Colin showed up green as hell, dude.
Yep.
ready to impress, though. And I tell you what, you came a long way, bro. I'm really happy for you. Congratulations.
No, it's a big deal, and we're excited to get you your own crew. Colin's a badass worker. So, but our special guest today, John Latcham, our CPA, our certified public accountant, something that we needed and we got and we obtained. We'll dig into that a little more in the podcast here. But let's just kick it off.
Yeah. So the reason why we wanted to bring John on is because at the banquet, I realized, I'm like, man, we have so much leadership, so much high-level leadership here that I think it's definitely worth having a whole podcast episode about leadership. So for those of you who don't know, John is, a CPA, was in a firm for 12 years, I want to say, specializing in construction. He also has a very decorated, very successful career as active military right now. Is that correct?
National Guard, yep.
Yep. And so John's a captain in the National Guard. And me and John were talking about leadership the other day, and John brought up some really interesting topics that I thought would be great to share. Now, John shares these same topics with conversations and speeches that he has with his entire platoon. How many people make up a platoon?
A platoon can range 20 to 100, but right now I command a company. So I have a company element underneath me. Prior to that, I was platoon leader and S6, which is kind of the IT section of a battalion.
Sure.
So I was in the battalion staff, which our battalion held about 450 soldiers.
Wow.
That was on our deployment to Kuwait and Iraq. So,
okay. So you were in Kuwait, Iraq.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
It's crazy. Well, I tell you what, we really appreciate and admire your service because of guys like you. Guys like me didn't have to go. So I really appreciate and admire that. And we'll forever be indebted for that. Now, John, one thing that I thought was so cool is that you give speeches on leadership, right?
That's right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about, how you've elevated and found yourself to be such a successful leader in distressed situations, in extremely high-level professional accounting situations, and just tell us a little bit more about up-and-coming leadership here at Wolf River and anybody who thinks they want to be in leadership, right?
That's right.
I talked to a couple of young guys and young gals at the event that we had this past Friday. And man, I saw so much leadership potential in almost every single person I talked to. So, John,
They're hungry.
Yeah.
People are hungry.
Yeah.
People are hungry.
Tell us just a little bit about leadership.
Yeah, check it out. So my leadership style really is very much a product of my military time, right?
Yeah, sure.
But leadership in the military is incredibly transferable to any civilian job because at the end of the day, you're leading who? You're the people, right? Mm-hmm. Guess what? People in the military versus people in a civilian job, it's all people. All right, so people have the same needs and wants, regardless of where you go. But it's great that you're finding people within our organization that are hungry for that leadership position. It's easy to find potential, probably not as easy as we'd like it to be, right. But it's harder for them to prove their leadership potential because being a leader, as it turns out, is not just about being the boss. Absolutely not. You have to listen to what your team needs, what they want, how they're reacting. You have to be proactive to how they're going to react, right?
Right.
And take all that into consideration when you're making decisions and you're making these calculations in your head. What's the best move for my team? How can I lead them to success? How can I inspire them? How am I going to motivate them? How am I going to create this culture that just drives this crazy amount of production and efficiency, right?
Right.
So in the military, I base pretty much everything I do on the reactions of my soldiers. I'm looking at when we're doing training, all right, how are they reacting? Are they taking this like this is boring, we don't care, we already know this? That's got to go into my head, right? And okay, they got this down. I don't need to do this anymore. We don't need to go over this topic anymore. Or are they looking at it? Are they engaged? Is this something new that they're engaged in and they're excited about it? Awesome. Let's focus on that, right? Because we don't need to focus on things that they don't care about.
Right.
Unless it's important, then why don't they care? I got to figure that out. And I got to be proactive about that. Because the last thing I want to do is have my soldiers fall off kind of, the training wagon, if you will, because they're not engaged. And that falls right into civilian careers. And guess what? If you're a journeyman, if you're somebody in the office, you're a project manager, you're a leader, whether you like it or not. Sorry, you're a leader. You're leading a team, listen to your team. Your team is telling you what they want and what they need through their reactions. So that's very important to pick up on that kind of stuff, If there's fighting on a daily basis or constant grudges or something like that, pick up on that. Okay, what's causing it? I got to hone in on what this is and get rid of that problem. So that's one part of it, right? Motivating and inspiring.
Well, there's something really significant that you said, right? Where it's analyzing, interpreting, right? Figuring out what the problem is, but then proactively, right, getting ahead of it to resolve it.
That's right.
Right. I see a lot of people in leadership, especially in Wolf River, right, where they want to fill a role of leadership, they want to be a part of something, they want to lead something, they want a specific job, right? But when push comes to shove, right, if they can't solve a problem and then it falls back on their superiors, right? Well, now the situation's been created where you're showing others that you're not an individual that has the leadership capabilities to make a decision. Even if it's the wrong decision, I'd rather see somebody make an attempt to make a decision than not make a decision and have it fall back on the superiors, because why are you even in leadership if you can't make a decision?
100%. As we get into our officer training in the Army, we go through something called Officer Candidate School. That's one avenue, right? The other one's ROTC and all those other ones. But when you're going through Officer Candidate School, it's an infantry school. Primarily infantry school. So you're doing infantry tactics, you're leading your platoon, you're leading your squad, whatever position you're put in during that school. That's what the trainers are looking for, is that decision-making ability. It doesn't even have to be the right decision. They want you to be able to, you're in a situation, high-stress situation, something has to happen. Are you going to be the person that sits there and goes, or are you going to be the person that says, oh, we're doing this?
Right. Even if it's the wrong decision, because you learn from those too. But I mean, you got to stand behind your decision, And if you're in a high stress situation, a call has to be made.
That's right.
So whether it's the correct one or not the correct one, you got to be passionate about that choice, or nobody else behind you will be.
You're actually just leading right into my next bullet.
Sorry.
No, you're perfect. That's
so
perfect.
significant, though. That's so significant. Making a decision. Things are happening around you. You got to react.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Carry on. That's
Yeah.
Really
So when you get into being passionate about that decision, this goes to every single leadership position, really anywhere. If there's an organization like ours that is so fast in moving and changing and morphing into this great place that we call work, right?
Yeah.
There's changes coming down the pipeline. In order for those changes to be implemented successfully, all the leaders in the organization have to back it and have to support it. And they have to portray that support to their team, even if they don't agree with it. When I get a mission from my superiors in the military, I may not like it. I may not agree with it. But it's my job to turn back around to my team and go, all right, this is what we're going to do. And I have to portray at least that, yep, I back this plan fully. This is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to bring us to success. That's so important, because if you, as a leader, don't show the compassion and the passion for whatever goal you're trying to achieve, you've already lost your team. They already don't care.
Right.
They're already not passionate about that goal. They're not passionate about that change.
Yeah.
Boss doesn't want it. I don't care then, right?
It just shows how much, how much emotion bleeds into the rest of your team, right? And being a leader is, okay, yeah, you have the stature and the ability to make decisions, but the rest of it is emotional. I mean, do you have the headspace to show up every day, whether you believe in what you're doing or not, to stand there and put on that good face and that good faith for the rest of your team to see, okay, this is what we need to do. You know, it kind of correlates to the guys in the field, you know, and trickle down theory is a real thing, and I tell the journeyman and the roof leads that all the time. You know, if you show up to a job and it's a snowy day and everyone's kind of bogged down and nobody wants to do anything, you as a leader on that crew, if you show up and start saying, man, this is never going to go well, this is not it, you know, it's going to take 2 hours to get this snow down and all that, everybody else on your team is going to be affected by that ideology and that mindset. Because if you as a leader don't believe that we can get it done, why would anybody else? You know, nobody else will think that. But if you as a leader get fired up right away, you know, go up to each member and say, we got this is what we're going to do, set out a plan and enforce it. Whether the job gets done or not, everybody's still putting in the utmost effort. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And that's all it comes down to. I mean, we don't care. Obviously, we care about jobs getting done, but we want people to push themselves to the limit and do the most that they can every single day. Go home to their significant other. Go home alone, whatever it is, if you're single, and just be content with your day. Because I don't know how much this correlates or not, but people that are sad or depressed, you know, it comes back to, did you do something today that you can be proud of?
100%.
And if you're going to work every day and just running through the motions and not caring, or, you know, not showing any care to the team around you, or just, you know, showing up and not doing what you need to, or, you know, setting the bar high, you're going to go home not feeling as fulfilled as people that are going balls to the walls and trying to do everything that they can for that day.
Exactly. And as a leader, you have to lead that. You have to lead that inspiration on a day-to-day basis with your team.
Right.
If you're that leader that's out there every single day and getting after it, even if you woke up hungover, tired, whatever, but you just put on that game face every single day, your team picks up on that.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you have the most efficient team in the company.
And it's not easy.
There's a question I want to ask you. So you said, you know, like, we're talking of inspiring others, right, to be on the same page or to have the same mindset of the decision, that the passion for the decision that you made, right? How do you get, as somebody like who might be new to leadership, how do you get others to be as passionate or as concrete in a decision or a belief or a way of moving forward as you do being the leader?
Yeah, so you have to take that idea. Let's say, for example, I'm implementing a change, right? Which we are. Our accounting is changing on a day-to-day basis. It's crazy. I present it to everybody as, all right, this is what we're going to do, this is what it's going to fix, and this is how it's going to make it better. And that's how I present it. And they're going to take that, oh, we're doing this now because this is what it's going to do, this is how it's going to, this is what it's going to fix, and this is what's going to make better. And you take that mentality and it passes down. It happens kind of automatically if you do it that way. You know, if you were to present a change and you come out with it like, we're going to make this change, eventually it'll be cool, but, you know, there's going to be this issue and that issue, that's going to pass down. You don't want that because now you have people second-guessing the decision, right?
Right.
You don't want that. You want what we're doing, why it's good, what it's improving. I'm excited about it. Hell yeah, let's go.
Exactly, because change is not easy. I mean, nobody likes change.
Nobody likes
necessarily.
change.
And then, but I mean, if you can express and articulate the reason for the change, because I mean, the only reason for the change is to better everything. You know,
That's exactly right.
Whatever you're changing, it's to improve it. You know, and it's not always seen that way right off the get-go. But like you said, if you're articulate about it and you express why it will be a good thing and how it will be a normal thing in just a couple weeks, and it's going to be like nothing even happened, as long as you just give that full ditch effort for it, people will come around and understand it, you know, but you got to be the person to express that emotion, because if you are not, then everybody else is going to see it the same way. Oh, you know, what is the point in this? I was so comfortable, you know, doing it this way. But, you know, leadership, good leadership will bring a place to constantly be changing, to constantly be improving, to constantly get bigger and expand, just as Wolf River has.
Yeah.
And change is going to happen. It's going to happen, you know. That's the only way to improve and expand, is to change things around and find out the foundations that are going to make that change fantastic and set it forth, you know. So things will always change, and it's not easy, but you need the good guys with the grit, the physical grit, but also the mental grit to get through those things.
And check it out. When I first got to Wolf River, and I started sitting next door to Vlad and Justin and Luca and George, the culture that we have is already very receptive to our leadership. So it's great. And I also am lucky enough to listen to Justin's daily calls with the sales teams. I mean, it's pretty much prime example of what exactly you should be doing. I mean, it's an honor, honestly, to sit with you and just listen. Even if I'm just listening in the background, doing my little accounting thing, but I'm hearing you talk to hundreds of sales reps every day, and you're just putting that energy out there. There's not a better way to do it. There is not.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think it's so important, right? You know, because even the people that are in sales, right? They are leaders in their own way. They're literally leading potential customers to become customers, right? If anybody has to have, you know, the tools to influence and impact people positively, it's that group, right? I had a question for you, John, and I know me and you spoke about this yesterday.
Yep.
So there is all sorts of opportunity for people to elevate within Wolf River Electric, right? I want to know, you know, like a word to people here, right? You know, Pince came in, right? An opportunity opened up for him to elevate to where he is right now, right? Becoming one of the high-ranking leaders of the organization because he broke his hand, found himself in the shop, right? Some people, they look at their situation and say, oh, can't work. I'm not working in the shop. I'm going to go do something else. Or, oh, you know, I don't really want to sweep the floors. You know, I was just running a crew. Why would I be sweeping the floors? What kind of mindset needs to come on to aggressively elevate yourself from, you know, Pince looked at it as, you know, he may have looked at it as like a step down, right? I just need some filler work. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of a mindset needs to be taken on to have that transition of thought as, dude, this isn't a step down. This is an opportunity to step up.
Yeah. So the way I like to look at this is what you're talking about is an obstacle, right? It's a bump in the path. You had something in mind of, this is how my life's going to go, this is how my career's going to go, and something somewhere went awry.
Change.
Could be change, could be a broken hand, could be a lot of things, right? But the thing is, when most people out in the world, and this happens so much, they encounter this obstacle and they look at it as a failure. That's the wrong mindset. You can't look at something as a failure. And I know there's lots of self-help stuff out there that says, oh, failure is good, right? You're supposed to learn off failures. Well, of course. But the mentality to look at those bumps in the road is to look at it as an opportunity. And it's like the obstacle is your opportunity to do something else. The obstacle is not a failure to progress the way you were going before. So you've obviously succeeded in your role. You broke your hand, and now look what you are. Yeah. So, I mean, a first-hand example, Jake Pince.
Well, that is a really good. I mean, Pince, you kind of are a person that is, whether you realize it or not, an example of how somebody can go from, you know, being at the absolute lowest part of the company, right, to somebody who's overseeing hundreds of people. You know, I mean, tell us a little bit about the mindset change that you took on, you know, coming down from not being able to work as an apprentice in the field to operations supervisor where you are today.
It kind of comes down to how you look at things. I mean, you got to take any situation you are in, good or bad, and do the most that you can with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to take a bad situation and lower yourself down with that situation, and now all of a sudden you're a victim. And the victim mentality is the killer of every young person in this country, in this world. I mean, if you see yourself as a victim in any bad situation, then you will be a victim, and you're going to be a victim of your own mindset for the rest of your life. And that's no way to live life. You get one life. You know, you don't even know how many days you get. So you got to take any situation, good or bad. And this is something I had to really learn. You know, I mean, everybody goes through that victim mentality, but if you truly look inside yourself, and you're going to do it in a bad situation, that's when you're going to be forced to peel back the layers and say, okay, who am I? What am I going to do to improve this? How much work do I got to put in? You know, in those bad situations, you got to find the forbidden fruit, and you got to find it, and you got to attack it. And with a bad situation, do whatever you can to turn it good. And I swear, with a good mindset and hard work and consistency, you will turn that bad situation into a good situation. And it might take a month. it might take 2 years. But some of the best stories I've ever heard, and some of the most inspirational stories I've ever heard, it all starts with somebody in a pit climbing out. You know, look at all the movies, look at all the music we listen to, look at all the poetry, the literature. Sorry, excuse me. It starts with, you know, somebody that is in a bad situation and climbs themselves out, or they're in a good situation, go down to a bad situation, then back to a good one. You can't be a victim. You got to take every situation and turn it into what you can, and you have the power to turn a bad situation to a good one.
Hey, check it out. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holland. Read the book. It's a really short book. It literally coaches you through how to take that mindset on. It can't be easier than that. Most people have to learn it the hard way. I'm telling you right now, the obstacle is the way. Obstacles are not failures. They're not hindrances. They're opportunities.
Right.
Jocko Willink has a kind of a mantra that he uses. If something bad happens, he looks at it and he goes, okay, good.
Right.
Now what do we do to improve that?
Yeah. Well, I've heard this too. You never know how good you're feeling without knowing how bad that you felt in the past.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's another powerful one. I can't remember who exactly that was, but I mean, you truly don't know the feeling of happiness and being content without knowing how bad things can truly get. So there's always a way to get back up to that prime time feeling. It's just how much do you want it? How much work are you willing to put in for it?
Yeah, and this kind of ties in to my next point. Good leaders have to take responsibility. And it's not just responsibility for what they do. It's responsibility for anything their team does. So it is so easy for people in general, and especially in a team environment, to blame, right? Oh, what happened to this job? How come this happened? Well, so-and-so. No, you're the leader. It's your responsibility to make sure that happened correctly. And it's not just for leaders. It goes down to the lowest person in the team. Take a responsibility for that. If you take responsibility, take ownership of whatever happened, you will excel. Because it's somebody that takes ownership for stuff like that, they're going to be seen as more respectful. They're going to learn faster, because people that often pass off blame aren't learning anything. It's crazy. You say, oh, so-and-so did that. I don't need to worry about it. But if you go, okay, I did this. I admit to that. I own it.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you not going to do next time?
Right.
Probably that thing.
Right.
Because you owned it. It's in your mind now.
Yeah.
That, hey, I screwed up on this, and yep, I came forward, but it still goes up the ladder, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a learning moment for that individual.
It is.
But it's also, you know, people bond through shared pain. I say this all the time, but it's one of my favorite quotes. People bond through shared pain. So if you, as a leader, are talking to a member of the company that did make a mistake and they own up to it, now it's a learning moment, right? You guys are both on the same page. You made that mistake. You owned up to it. What am I going to? I'm not going to get mad at you. You understand you're learning from it. But now as a collective, us two together, and probably the guys on his same crew are all like, okay, well, he learned from that. No harm, no foul. And you know, we know together now, we got this commitment to each other that, you know, we're going to get better and learn from this mistake. And now that guy that owned up to his mistake, I see much higher in my eyes, or whoever's the leader's eyes. And you guys are on a whole different level of relationship at that point, too.
That's right. All right, so I have kind of two stories from my military days to kind of bring this all together. All right, first one's kind of funny, but it's a prime example of where I had to take responsibility. So we're in Kuwait. We just got back from Iraq. We just shut down a base up there, north side of Baghdad. And so we got all these TVs, right? All these big flat screen TVs. And we're going to bring them into our tactical operations center, talk. And I was the IT guy, is the help desk lead. And so my battalion commander thought that I would be the right guy to build TV stands. So, of course, I have a team. I don't build the TV stands myself. I have my team build TV stands for our talk. So my soldiers come up to me after 2 days, and they're like, "Sir, we built the TV stand. They look amazing. We've got a sweet conference room. It's going to be awesome. It's got a VTC, which is video teleconference system, right? So we can talk to other people, and we've got like 2 screens, just like in the movies." I was like, "Right on. Let's go take a look at them." I went into the room. I looked at them. I'm like, "It does look sweet." I walked out. I'm gonna go get the boss, show off my new TV stands. I go get the boss. He's like, he checks it out. He's like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And we start walking down the hallway. Not about 5 steps down the hallway do I just hear crash. And I knew immediately in my head, I'm like, one of the TVs just fell down. We go back in there, and he's my boss at the time, battalion commander. He's about 6'5" and like ginger, right? He's just looking at me with his beady red eyes, and his face is red because we just got these 65-inch TVs. We go in there, yep, there's one on the ground, shattered.
Jeez.
And I'm like, sir, that's my bad. I should have double checked that. And he goes, well, how are they even secured? I'm like, not gonna lie to you, sir, I didn't even check. My soldiers had Velcroed the TV to the TV stand.
No.
Yeah, I didn't check. So, but I took responsibility. I didn't even tell them who I put in charge of the project. Doesn't
Sir,
matter.
I built these
I took-
myself.
That's, yeah. Nope, I just straight up told them I didn't check them, and that's my bad. We moved on.
Yeah.
Life was fine after that.
That's the main thing, though.
Yeah.
Life is fine after that because it is. Nothing's going to be life altering. You know, a mistake or a talking to or a learning moment, it all seems terrible when you're preparing for it or like anticipating it. But after it's done, it's great. And life doesn't end and life does go on. And everybody improves from that situation.
That's right. And
So-
the soldier that built the TV stand was standing right next to us. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, I'm dead. And I just kind of gave him a look like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, a little
And
pat on the butt.
I get back to my office. He comes in. He's like, thanks for not telling the battalion commander that I did that. And I'm like, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's my bad. I'm supposed to oversee the project. Not your fault. Although next time, let's use screws.
You guys didn't get him with the towels and the soap
No,
bars?
no. We don't do that anymore.
Anymore.
A little more like chaotic story. So we're in Iraq, and we get what's called an indirect attack, right? So the bad guys are on the other side of the river. They basically make rocket like launchers out of trucks and tubes, right? And they light them off in the tubes, and they kind of line up their truck to try and hit base. So it's coming over. I think we had 31 IDF impacts that day. It was the most in Taji history. So I was there for that fun. But during that time, all communications go down. Everything. Well, who's in charge of communications? The IT guy. So what do you got to do? I had to make sure that we had communication somehow. Had to get some walkie-talkies, had to get some embedders, get them out to whoever needed them so that we could get communication going around, because it's evening, so most of our soldiers are scattered throughout. They're in their chews, they're in the DFAC, which is the dining facility. They're everywhere. The laundry room, they're everywhere. So we had none of our normal communication that everybody relied upon. So we kind of had to just go with something. I went with something that was not encrypted. Doesn't matter. We got to have communications because we have to have accountability now, right? So that's just kind of one of those things where, like, shit is literally going down.
You're under attack.
You have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be the guy that sits under the desk with
Right.
everybody else, you know?
And that's leadership, right? Everything's going down, like literally war, right? Like explosives. People are panicking, and you made a decision. Whether it was the right or the wrong decision, you made a decision to get communication up, and I think that's the definition of like the radical leadership that's necessary when making those types of calls.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, I was scolded, you could say, for using non-encrypted communication during that time, but at the end of the day, I don't even regret it because, okay, sir, we could have not had any communication, and we'd have been running around chicken with our heads cut off, and we have to get our count into base command so that they know that everybody's accounted for. What are we going to do? Run 2 miles to every different building to count your soldiers? It's a joint headquartered base, so there's Italians there, there's French there, there's Germans there. There's so many people. Like, you have to have that communication with your squads. So I don't regret it for a second. Should I have done something else? I don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's what I did.
That's what you did.
I'll own it. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not, yep, I did it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
but
what
you,
it is.
You made a decision, and you can't dwell on in the past. You know, you made a decision that in some way, whether it was the right one or not, or the most practical or not, that did benefit the people around you in the most disgraceful period. I mean, you were literally in war under attack.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that is not an easy place to make a decision as a leader. You know, that's impromptu. What the hell am I going to do to help save some lives? You know, that's the ultimate level of leadership right there. You know, that's the prime example. You know, and I can't say it enough. Thank you for your service. That's crazy. That's a different level of what we do here at Wolf River. But it all does, like what you said, relate back to what you need to do. You need to make fast acting decisions. You need to stand by it. You need to get your team behind it in a positive way. And it, in the end, whether it was the right decision or not, something good will come from it. You know.
Exactly.
A lot of what really inspired this episode, for me at least, was the people who talked to me at our banquet about stepping into some sort of leadership role someday. John, Jake, can you just give some encouragement to the young men and women here that want to step into a leadership position already, or maybe already kind of in one, but want to know how they can elevate?
Yeah, so learning from your own mistakes, number one. Owning those mistakes, probably more important. Passing that knowledge on to your team, even more important than that. Because we as humans and as an organization, we're a learning organization. And if you want to be the next leader, you have to be able to take those experiences and pass them on. You can't be the guy that's looking at the green guy and going, learn it the hard way. No. Take them under your wing, teach them everything. That goes for everybody. If you're not a journeyman, if you're not even a team lead, and there's somebody new on your team, take them under your wing. Show them everything you know. That's your first step to being a leader right there. You're showing somebody how to do something, you're leading them. And you can take that to the next level. The more you teach, the more you lead. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah. For me, I mean, you know, I'm 26 years old, and you know, I've been doing this for 4 years now. So I mean, I was really young coming into a leadership role, and I've had to learn so much. And I used to be so prideful to the fact that any decision I made was the right one. There's nothing more I can learn, you know. And you got to hold yourself accountable. You got to know when you make mistakes, and that's not an easy thing to do. So that's something, that was number one thing I had to learn. Learn from your mistakes, understand that the people around you do impact, obviously, the job that you're doing, and you got to listen and take into account what they think too. Because it comes together as a fruitful thing once you take into account what they're saying. You got to listen to everything around you. And that was something that I had to learn. You know, you can't be stuck in your ways as a leader, because you know, in the world that we live in with technology and everything else going on, even APRs skyrocketing, things will constantly be changing. You have to change with it, and we talked about it. Change isn't easy, and you're stuck in your ways, and it's easier. But now when you make this change, you gotta, you know, put all this thought behind it and work with your team and implement it, which is, you know, there's not always time for that, but you need to make time for that. And that kind of leads into my next point is, you know, dedication. How much are you willing to dedicate to your craft, to your career, inside your job? You know, how much time are you actually working at work? You know, in the world we live in with people, you know, working at home or working in the office and the technology, there's so much time to slack off and get away with it. Who's going to catch you? You got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to make a decision with yourself. How much am I willing to dedicate to myself, to this organization, and to my craft in work and outside of work? Because outside of work, this is another thing. People are so content with working their 8 hours, 9 to 5, right? And then they're like, oh, my day is done. You know, I've done my dues today. I got to go home and do nothing for the last 6-7 hours of my night. You're never going to see too much success doing that. You got to take your work home with you. Maybe it's not always just work, but it's just, you know, elevating yourself, going to the gym, eating healthier, you know, spending time with family and friends. But you got to be dedicated inside of work and outside of work, and you got to test yourself.
And disciplined.
Discipline, man.
Disciplined is the word you're looking for.
Oh, man.
That is the word that describes all of that.
Still working on that, man. Still working on
discipline. Discipline is the hardest thing to attain and maintain. But if you are disciplined and you practice discipline, you will see more success than any of your peers.
Right? So easy to make the easy choice.
That's incredibly easy to make the easy choice, but making the easy choices get you nowhere.
Right.
I guarantee you will plateau.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. You have to step out of your comfort zone. Step out of the comfort zone, be disciplined, work hard. Boom. That's like the recipe for success.
Right. And it
kid you
sounds
not.
easy when you just say it.
It sounds easy.
But
in
I mean,
words.
to do it every day of the week for years on end, it isn't easy because people get tired, or you get bogged down, and you're like, oh, this isn't going anywhere, you know. But it's you constantly pushing through. One day you're gonna get that breakthrough. You will. It'll just happen. I mean, look at any career in the world. You know, some of these YouTubers, like, you know, we're doing this podcast thing right now. We're like, how can we make this as big as it can be, or do as well as we can with it? And there's this one guy, Mr. Beast. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but
Yeah.
he is one of the top YouTubers, highest paid guys right now. I think he went 9 years straight of making YouTube videos that almost nobody was seeing. He was reaching no target audiences, no audience at all. And now he's one of the highest paid, biggest influencers on the internet. Discipline, daily practice, taking it home with you, just never giving up. You'll get what you want, I promise you.
Dude, the easiest way, I found a cheat code for discipline. You ready for this? It's called the 5-second rule. All right, it's actually a book by Mel Robbins, but I didn't make it, so credit to Mel Robbins. The 5-second rule, it's not counting forward from 1 to 5, it's counting backwards. Pick a random number, 32, count backwards, 5 seconds, from 32, 31, 30, 29. It takes the emotion out of your thoughts. It immediately engages the logical part of your brain. It's crazy. Like, it's literally how I got out of bed sometimes.
You told me about this the other day, and I literally had to use this the other day when I was this close to breaking my routine. Right? For me, my commitment, my accountability is my daily routine, right? I don't break it, right? And when I do break it, everything else falls kind of out of order.
Yeah.
Right? You told me about this, and I literally was laying in bed saying, I'm not getting up today. There's no way. My mind starts thinking emotionally, oh, dude, I could use the sleep. Or, man, this feels so good. Or, I want to keep cuddling with Lena. Whatever it is. And I started thinking, you know what? 32, 31, 30. And there was a point where I was just counting, and I just like, so, okay, forget it, and I just push myself up.
Just get up, because the logical part of your brain.
It does work. It does work, and I did use it the other day, and I thought it was crazy when you mentioned that because I never brought it up to you. But yeah, that is a legit cheat code.
It is. It's crazy. Like, the first time I tried it, it's like you're in a high emotional situation. Your emotions are thinking for you, right? How do you get out of that? Maybe you're mad at one of your team, right? They screwed something up. You're pissed. Okay, just hold on for a second. Let's go 27 to 22. Just do it. Okay. All right, how are we gonna fix this? It's weird. It's crazy, but it's weird, and it's like it's science.
I believe it.
I'm not.
Sometimes just breathing helps me. Sometimes I'm like,
Breathing,
damn,
yeah.
dude, have you taken some good breaths here? Like, just cool off. My face will get more flushed again. Man,
It's like it's so easy for people to get flustered. So it's you have to have the discipline to kind of realize it first. If you can do that, you can take whatever steps you need to take the emotion out of your thinking and go back to logic and then make a decision. You can't make good decisions when you're being emotional because you make emotional decisions. When you're thinking with your emotions, you're not communicating very well because you're the only one that understands your emotions. Other people can maybe tell you're upset, but they don't know what you mean. You know, if you're expressing your thoughts with logic, in the logical part of your brain, and presenting it in a way that your team or whoever your audience is, they understand, okay, well, now you just made a good point because now they can understand what you're thinking. Just try to think with your emotions and talk with your emotions. You're going to get reactions. You're going to get reactions on faces that are, the hell is he talking about? You know, why is he so upset? I didn't try to do this on purpose. I messed up, but I didn't do it on purpose. You know, take a second. Okay. Yep. We messed this up. Here's what we should have done, and here's how we're going to fix it now. It's simple, right?
Another good quality of being a leader. You do have to take your emotions out of things, and you know Justin's taught me that a lot. You know, you got to think level-headedly, because you know whoever messed up or whatever team messed up, you know they had a full day they went through too. They don't know what you went through in your day. You don't know what they've gone through in their day. you got to get past the emotions and break down to the fibers of the actual issue and how we can resolve from it. Because I promise you, if you overstep your boundaries, people are just going to have a spiteful look at you and then not want to work hard for you. And that's not a good leader. And that's another thing that, you just got to take your pride out of it sometimes.
Check it out. You don't know what they got going on at home either.
Right.
100%.
Somebody's screwing up on the job site. When it comes to me and my soldiers, if somebody is messing up their job that bad, I got to take them aside. 'Cause I'm like, this isn't a hard task. I've seen you do it 100 times before, but today you're off. What's going on, bud? Everything okay at home? You stressed out about finances? 9 times out of 10, something going on at home. Mm-hmm. It's important to understand that, right? Because if you don't understand that, you're not on their level. It's just another thing that they're now stressed about. Because now they're screwing up at home and they're screwing up on the job. What are you going to have? You're going to have a super depressed worker who's not doing much, right? So you got to motivate them back, talk them through their stuff at home, to be there for them. Mm-hmm. Even on a professional level, you can be somebody's boss and be there for them emotionally.
Right.
Crazy concept, but check it out, it works. I've never seen the opposite work. I've never seen. Me and you both have seen. All three of us have seen like people bringing their personal life into work. Dude, I tell every single person, I don't want you to separate your personal from your professional, right? It's not like it's the 1980s construction company vibe where it's like, hey, you leave that at home. It's like, dude, I want you to bring that all to me so I have a transparency of knowing what's going on with you and why this is like you said, you've done it 100 times before perfectly, what's going on today, right? And I'm very thankful for the sales reps that I work for because, man, there's a lot of things going on just because there's so many different people, right? And I don't know any of them. They're all coming from different situations, right? Transparency is key. And you can't expect somebody to perform at their absolute best in their professional life until you, whether you need to help them in any what way that looks like, get a better handle on their personal life.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's just a word of encouragement, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, sometimes that's all is like a prayer or a word of encouragement or whatever that is. But I'm telling you, you can't expect people to separate personal and professional. It doesn't work. I've never seen it work well. I don't believe in it. I'm glad you both see the same way.
You might be that one outlet that they needed,
Sometimes they just need somebody to listen, man.
Yeah, especially in the trades, it's male dominant. That's something that goes on in men's mentality all the time. I mean, it's hard for men to talk about issues going on, and maybe with you being somebody that they're not super close with, but they're your boss, you could be that one outlet that could provide a solution or any type of empathy for them, where they're like, get that little spark of, you know what? Somebody's here for me. Somebody understands me. So it is important. It really is.
Yep. And I tell you what, if any of you ever feel like you want to look at stepping into a bigger position in leadership within Wolf River Electric, you want to help out with the podcast, you want to help out with an event, you want to help out with a meeting, you want to help out with something, reach out to one of us. Get involved. Take that first step. I think it was Wayne Gretzky who said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Michael Scott.
Thank you all for joining another episode of the Wolf Den podcast. John Latcham, fantastic guest. Thank you for bringing so much insight.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks again for your service, man. That story you told today, I hope everybody gets to hear that. That's crazy stuff. So thank you again for coming on. Justin, another good episode here. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.